get started, I'm so excited to introduce our guest speakers, Melissa Mehall and Melissa Blue. They are the co-founders of Meli's Monster Cookies. They have such an inspiring story on creating their business, but also including mentorship into creating their business and even mentorship now. So at the end, just stay because you can get some yummy cookies, and you can also really take the tangible stuff that they'll give you and put it into action with our mentors that we have here and also your peers with the audience. So let's just get started.
Thank you. So I'm Melissa Mehall.
I'm Melissa Blue.
And we are the co-founders of Meli's Monster Cookies. And we are both so excited to be here tonight. We both went to the University of Texas and graduated from the McCombs School of Business many, many years ago. And it's really fun for us to get to see what UT is doing to build up young entrepreneurs like yourselves. And we're so happy to be a part and share what mentors have meant to us along this journey. So we are going to give you a roadmap of what's going to happen tonight. I'm going to tell you about our company and how we have used, or where we've gotten to where we are today. We're going to teach you what is a mentor and how Meli's Cookies has used mentors on our journey, and then how you go and find mentors and the businesses that y'all are looking forward to, or whatever your career path you're in. So where we begin. So Melissa and I have been best friends since we were 8 years old. We're childhood best friends. We grew up in Waco, Texas. We did lots of teams. We cheered together. We did together all sorts of silly things. And then we went on to University of Texas Business School. We both, did business undergrad. And then after business school, I went to law school at SMU and practiced as a transactional real estate attorney for a long time. And Melissa went and got her gemology degree from GIA and had a jewelry company. So needless to say, we had nothing to do with food, but we did have business backgrounds. And so that's kind of where we came from. Today, well, another thing is we are both married. We both have 3 children. I live in Fort Worth. She lives in Austin. So we have a remote company, as we said, before remote was cool. We used to have so many people tell us before the pandemic that we wouldn't be taken seriously if we didn't have a headquarters. And for our business, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, we don't do the manufacturing, we co-manufacture, which is very common in food. And we were like, oh, we've got this, because we were traveling all over the nation to the different retailers, and we didn't need a headquarters. So anyway, it works really well, but now we are still a remote company, which is great. But so now we have been in business for about 10 years. We're in over 6,300 retailers. We are women-owned certified, which means a lot to us, and we love helping other women in business and love to give back to that. And we're just continuing to grow in distribution and have had a real big journey with this thing. So what is a Meli's Monster Cookie? You can see them all here right now. I forgot. I know, I'm sorry. I'm going to do the background. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. So where this all came from and where it started 10 years ago is Melissa Blue was given a family recipe of a monster cookie from her mother-in-law on her wedding day. Her mother-in-law gave her a Bosch mixer and the recipe and said, pass on the tradition of making monster cookies for your family. So Melissa always made them for her family, but it was about 15 years ago that her niece, who's actually in the audience today, had a gluten intolerance, and she's a UT student, and had developed a gluten intolerance. And Melissa saw her sister trying to find gluten-free sweet treats for her niece that tasted good and couldn't find any. So her sister would drive from Waco to Austin to Whole Foods and try to make gluten-free sweet treats. But anyway, so Melissa was making the family monster cookie recipe one day for her own family and realized there was no wheat or flour in this recipe. So here we are, gluten-free market is on the rise 10 years ago. And the awareness is coming, and she has something that tastes good that wasn't meant to be gluten-free. So that's why we kind of say we're accidentally gluten-free. But it was perfect for the market. So she talked to some mentors actually here that were already in the food industry in Austin. And they said, this is a great idea, but you need a partner for it. And so she called me and said, I can't think of a better Melissa. At the time it was named, we were going to name it Melissa's Monster Cookies. And I never wanted to miss out on an adventure with my best friend. So even though I was practicing law part-time, I said, sure, here we go. So anyway, 10 years later now, this is where we are with In the grocery stores. So if you went into a grocery store, you could find this in 3 different places. It's the same recipe. There's the bakery mixes, which is our largest distribution. There's the mini that are on the cookie and cracker aisle. And then there's the frozen cookies that are in the frozen dessert section. And you can kind of see the trajectory. We launched these in 2013, these in 2018, and these in 2022. So our company changed really around the baking mixes because HEB came to us and said, we love your frozen cookies, would you make some mixes? And then that really changed the trajectory of how fast our company grew, because there was a lot of white space in this mix category, a lot of Pillsbury and Betty Crocker, and they didn't have a lot of better for you, gluten-free stuff at all, so we've been able to penetrate that category pretty well. And then we just now launched into this cookie cracker aisle. We wanted to get into a category that was the snacking category, that we could, people could more easily use it on the go as we looked at how people were behaving and eating and on the go now. So that's where we are today. This is the majority, and I think this is the future. So what makes Meli's different? So the main difference between Meli's is our taste. As I said, we don't have any gluten substitutes. Our first 2 ingredients are gluten-free rolled oat and then a nut butter, which makes it not obviously have the gluten substitute, but it also makes it higher in fiber and protein than the majority of the cookies on the shelves next to us. So it's better for you. We don't try to be a high protein cookie, but it just inherently is because of the oats and the protein. So it's tastes better because it doesn't have the gluten substitute. It has no rice flour, tapioca flour, all that kind of stuff that you often find gluten-free baked goods. And then it has the high protein and the high fiber too. So here is where you can see us. We're in 6,300 stores nationwide. We're in the top 3 retailers, Walmart, Kroger, and Target. And of course, HEB and Central Market, which are beloved Texas stores. And then have just grown, in nationwide, we're just continuing to grow. I went into the Foxtrot on Guadalupe today, and they were in to see the minis are there. So right for the right category of the snacking on the go, and so that was fun to see that. So this is where we are today. We're continuing to grow. We're going into the convenience store category in the next 6 months, which is really exciting with the minis. And so it's been a journey full of lots of wonderful mentors, truly, and Melissa's going to explain what the rest.
Push that, the
Push
arrow.
the down.
Here we go. Okay, so on to now that y'all know kind of where we come from and who we are, talking about mentorship and what it means. The definition, I know y'all can all read, but it really is someone who's maybe 5 to 10 years or more ahead of you in your space that can teach you their skills, their expertise, and tell you, kind of what you need to know in that industry. I know this is probably, we're all thinking for a job, but it can also be personally. So if there's something you want, a skill you want to learn, something you want to study, and find a mentor in that as well. The history, this has been around thousands of years. The word mentor actually came from Homer's Odyssey play. Like in the play, the king in the story had to go fight a war, and he left his son to a guy, and the character's name was Mentor, so just a little history on that. And in the play, he said, I want you to raise up my son and teach him everything that I would have taught him had I been here. So he wanted, that was the model. I know, in general, if you think about before we had formal education, y'all are all in college, way to go, and high school, and all those formal education, people learned from mentors or through apprenticeships, right? If you think about any kind of job, they went and learned on the go, learning the skills. So I think it's obviously been around a long time, but now that y'all all are in college, and entrepreneurship and company creating is so prevalent, what does it look like today? How do you use mentors? How do you get them? So we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about the keys of a good mentor and what a mentor is not. So number one, relevant expertise. Clearly, I sell cookies. I do not want to go find a surgeon to be my mentor. We have nothing in common. That's just, you want to find someone in your industry, within an industry. Like I might need a mentor in marketing or in operations or manufacturing. So there can be different mentors within different realms of your career, but definitely want to be in the vicinity of what you're looking to do.
Enthusiasm. This is important. Melissa and I are very avid listeners of podcasts. We read books. We go to events. We love business. Like, it doesn't have to be cookies. In fact, I'm kind of tired of cookies in general. No, I'm not. You know, you just want to be enthusiastic about what you're doing. If you're in fashion or if you're an artist or whatever, you want to find someone who's just as passionate about that field of study, because then they're excited to help you. It's not a job. So, a respectful attitude means, so if you come to me and you have started a company and you have a vision and a purpose and a mission behind that company, and my job is not to change any of that. So I'm respecting what you're trying to do. As a mentor, I may help you and lead you and maybe change course on little pieces of what you're trying to do, but I'm respecting what you're doing. I'm not trying to create a company with you. Does that make sense? Like, that's a respectful attitude. So, communication skills. You want someone that can talk clearly and communicate what they're trying to say in an effective manner, but we also want someone who is good at responding. So if you have a mentor that never responds to you or never emails you back or never can meet with you, it's probably time to move on from that person because they just don't have the time. And patience. I'm a parent of 3 children, so is Melissa, and this kind of comes across as I tell my children often how to do certain things, and often they do not do it the way that I showed them to do it because I know that to be the best way. As a mentor, I may tell a mentee, hey, you should maybe think about setting this up this way. And they may choose to do it a different way because they're leading their own company. They're doing what they want. And as a mentor, I need to be patient with that. They need to process their own ways and suffer their own consequences, if you will. So just having patience, seeing, as a parent, you see your children do things and you think, I told you not to do that. That's kind of that's the response you want to have. But as a mentor, you cannot do that. You need to say, well, that's fine. Let's think of a solution for the problem you just created for yourself. So just having patience with them as they're going through the process, I think, is really important. Empathy. Anyone who's owned a business, run a business, worked at a business will have empathy probably for anything you're going through because they've already been through it. So it's really important to have that because they can celebrate your wins. They can, understand when you're having hard times, and they can kind of come alongside you and be a great empathizer with you. So, and a positive attitude. This sounds cliche, but Melissa and I have had a few mentors that it really is helpful. In our 10-year journey, it has not been all roses and, wonderful. There's been really tough times. There's been really hard challenges. And when you have a mentor that you can go to and say, hey, we've got let's just say a manufacturing issue.
I was going to say, make sure it's like from a business standpoint, but you just are always coming up with different business issues come up.
So it's important for the mentor, he can come help me and he can tell us what he thinks and give us some ideas. And you're kind of down in the dumps a little bit, like, this is hard. And they're like, you're doing great, you're gonna make it. And they can say, I've been there before. Y'all are doing great things. Just kind of that positive, ending an email or ending a conversation with something positive is really important, especially, I'm sure you guys feel this way. If you've studied super hard for a test and you maybe didn't do as well, but if your professor said, I know you worked hard, you did your best, it'll be better next time. That's really encouraging and super helpful. So, okay, so those are good things. What a mentor is not, and this is more for you guys as a mentee going to your mentor, they're not your therapist. Most of these mentors have full-time jobs, they are working, and your goal is to not go and air all of your grievances about your roommate or your coworker or what's going on in your life or why your dog won't quit barking, whatever. They're not your therapist. They are there to help you. So I would say respect their time and come to them with a purpose. Number 2, a mentor is not a coach. And I think this is an important distinction. It was kind of hard for me to think through this, but think of a sporting coach, sport coach. Like, her son plays golf, my son plays football. They have coaches that we pay that spend hours and hours and hours perfecting skills. And a mentor is more of a broad stroke, helping you think through your business or your industry, but they're not getting into the details as much with you. And so I think of, like, for our business, say we need a new accounting software. I may say to my mentor, we need new programs. They may say, oh, let me connect you with this person or this company, or we've used them before and they help me in that, but they're not going to come alongside and purchase it and train me for hours on it, because that's kind of what a coach would do, is they really get into the details with you and really, almost like a teacher. So, And the third thing, it is not a magic cure. We've had mentors that have run huge companies and exited for millions of dollars, and they're wonderful mentors, but at the end of the day, we're the ones running the company. They're just coming to help us. So it's not going to be the magic touch like, oh, I have a mentor and they're successful, so I'll be successful. That's just,
unfortunately.
yeah, that's just not the way that works. So that is just a few keys of what a mentor is. Okay, so just talking a little bit about our journey with mentors. We kind of divided this into 3 categories. This is not super linear, but it just kind of helped us break down the different mentors we've had. And in the early stage, Melissa kind of alluded to this, we both had no background in food, and so I had no idea how to start a company and how to get, we had the idea of the product, how do you get it in a package, manufactured, on a shelf? I mean, there's a lot of steps that we didn't know. So I met with someone in Austin who had run a food company for 10 years, and he literally went through acronyms, distribution, manufacturing, margin. I mean, I still have the piece of paper with all the notes of the original, this is how you start a company. Another great mentor we had at the early stages was our manufacturer. He had his own company, and so he was making our cookies and helping us package, and he was great about asking questions like, how are you going to grow? Where are you, how can we be more efficient and save you money? Have you thought about going to food shows? Because that's where you could meet more retailers and meet more people. So he was actually really wonderful in kind of holding our hand as we were starting this process. And then a third one, this is kind of random, but anyone shop at Central Market? Yeah. That was one of our first retailers. And the buyer there, she's retired now, but she was hard. She was like very difficult. And Melissa would drive over with samples.
Yeah, because I live in Fort Worth, as I said, and their headquarters in Dallas. So
she'd drive over and kind of be like shaking, giving her the sample because Anita always came
scared
back.
to go in, she's gonna be mean, but yeah, so she was awesome. She would look at the packaging and look at it and say, this labeling is wrong, we need to add this to this, and this, and this isn't working, the sticker here, you're covering up your product. Like, she just really got us shelf ready.
Yeah.
I mean, she took the time to invest in us, and then took us in as a brand, which is incredible.
So if you think about it, and you want to go in the fashion industry, I mean, your first retail buyer might be an incredible mentor to you, so always look for opportunities for that. So then we started growing, we finally got into stores, we started the process, and we started going to food shows. And food shows are these huge convention halls, I mean, in New York City, thousands of food booths. And you really become friends with the people around you, so we got to meet all these other food companies in totally different spaces. We traded information, we kept up with those people, and that's kind of a symbiotic mentor relationship where we're helping them sometimes, they're helping us sometimes. For example, we may say, hey, we're looking for a broker on the East Coast. Do you know of anybody? Oh yeah, we worked with this person, let me connect you. Great. Or they may come to us and say, hey, we see you're in Walmart. Tell us what that looks like. What's the process? How hard are they to work with? It was a great networking and mentoring kind of situation, and we keep up with all of those people still today. We continue to meet people. And then we did, I would call both of those kind of informal mentors. It's not like I came to them and said, will you be my mentor? Can we meet once a week? I just kind of had we kind of had relationships with them and would email them or text them when we needed them, and that's kind of how it worked. But then Melissa and I in 2020?
Fall of 2020,
Yeah, when the pandemic was happening, there's a local
incubator.
Yeah, I was like, what word am I trying to think of? Incubator called SKU, and they deal in consumer product goods, so beauty, pet, food, and you have to apply to be a part of this mentorship. And so we did the application and we did that, and that's a very formal mentorship process. They have a 4 or 5 month program that you go through, and so you meet once a week, I believe, and learn about operations and legal, all the stuff going on with your industry. But each week had a theme, and then each brand, there was only 7 or 8 brands at a time. Each brand had 7 or 8 mentors. And I mean, we had 7-Eleven mentor, PepsiCo, people who've been in the business 30, 40 years. Yeah, Mondelez.
Yeah, huge.
Incredible mentors. And that was very formal. We met with them twice a month. We had an agenda. We would set a Zoom call and we would all meet, because they lived in New Jersey, they lived all over the country. So it was cool because the pandemic really allowed for the expansion of your mentors, because you could just get on Zoom. I mean, it's always better to meet in person if you can, but Zoom is a fantastic tool for that. And so that has been great. And we did this weaving picture, and y'all are probably like, what is that all about? It's because none of these mentors have ever left our lives, and they're all important in different aspects of our company. Like, I don't know what 2 years from now we might need and someone might need from us, but we keep those relationships live. This is all the people we've gotten to meet along the 10-year journey. So that is our journey. And then just how to find mentors. I mean, step one, y'all are all here. I mean, this is fantastic. Y'all are here, you're learning, you're meeting people. Definitely using your network at school. If you're in an organization, your friends, your roommates, your professors. If you have professors who have been in the industry, those are fantastic people to go, hey, I'm an engineering major. I don't know what I want to do when I get out of school. What did you do? Can you tell me some ideas? Or can you connect me with some other engineers that are in this industry? Like, you really got to use that network and try to meet and talk as much as you can with people, because you just never know what it's going to lead to. And then when you meet with people, whether, like I said, coffee or a Zoom or whatever, find a reason for them to introduce you to somebody else. Hey, I'd love to learn more about this. Do you know of anyone? Or I'd love more experience in this, whatever it is. And it may not always happen, but if it organically comes up that they could introduce you to yet another person, make the connection, for sure. Okay.
Okay, so here are some practical tips when you are meeting with your mentors, finding mentors, all of the things. We kind of just thought we'd wrap it up with just some different helpful tips that we found. But I thought something that would be helpful for this, in case y'all weren't looking at this as an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, to say another mentorship that I had. So when I worked at my law firm, my head partner was a dear mentor to me, and that was an informal mentor. It wasn't anything that was set up. But what that looked like in a business legal setting is that I would go to him daily to show him I would get work from him, and then I would show him my work, and I'd leave it with him, and then he would mark it up, and then I'd go sit with him, and then he'd, teach me what I was doing, so I could do it better the next time. He also looked over what casework I was getting, he kind of like shielded me from things that if I wasn't an area I wanted to work in. And then he was just like my biggest cheerleader. And he was my mentor for over 10 years. And he just always encouraged me when I would get down and thinking that I don't know what I'm doing and this feels hard or I keep getting it wrong. It was super important to my legal career to have someone that thought I was great, believed in me, and taught me everything that I knew. But that was informal too. So whether this isn't something, I know we're talking about it for a cookie company and an entrepreneurship, that was something where I was working for someone and he was my just mentor and just a big part of my life. So look for those people that believe in you in your lives. I think there are so many people that see y'all young and full of energy and so smart that y'all have great things ahead. So it's so exciting. Okay, so tips. Communication, with the email we were saying, be concise in your email to your mentors. And I think it's always good if you are having a meeting to have an agenda. That was something we were taught during our SKU mentorship. Everyone wants to know, just like we did tonight, that probably gave you a little piece saying, okay, this thing isn't going to be a million miles long, they only have 4 things they're going to talk about. And it helps you stay on track, it helps them know where they're going, and it just makes for a more efficient meeting. So that's probably a good tip for any type of meeting. Another thing for the mentors is finding the right fit. Melissa touched on this a little bit. It needs to be in the right industry that you're working with. It doesn't have to be local, which is so great. We have our Mondelez mentor is up in New Jersey, as you said. We kind of have them all over the country based on what they are to us and to our and to our company. And then similar to your role, meaning we're not meeting, well, now we are, meeting with CEOs, but whatever your level is, you would want something, obviously a little bit higher than your level, but in the same role with whatever you're trying to figure out, what your 8 questions pertain to. I love this one, e-meeting, so a proper greeting. So a lot of times we were just saying, whenever you're talking to someone and then get someone else to talk to next, when you're doing an email greeting, make sure and say, if I'm connecting to Melissa to Sarah, I say, hi Melissa, Sarah, I want to connect y'all, and then just do a way of connecting them where it's not just blind copying or copying someone to connect people. Does that make sense? Do an introduction and say, I met Sarah the other day. She is in the food industry. She's wanting to learn more about marketing. I know you're a great marketer. I'll let you two take it from here, right? Does that make sense? Just making the connection.
Pretend you're in person,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then email it.
yeah. Okay, Zoom etiquette. We had a whole class on this in our mentorship program, which Zoom, that seems so crazy, but it is, I think, do y'all Zoom much or not? Yeah. Well, it's just kind of not going away, kind of as national and global as all of our companies are. So be presentable. So don't be, and you can be in your sweats, but have your hair pulled back and look like you have combed your hair for the day. Do not do other work. We can always tell when someone is on the Zoom that they've got their other screen up and they're working. We can always tell. So that doesn't feel good if you only have a 30-minute meeting and they're not actually interacting with you. Don't eat, which seems so silly, but it's true. We always, eat before and then we can drink, but I wouldn't think eat. And then try to find a quiet environment, which that may be not as hard for y'all, but for us when we are at home with our animals and our children.
The mailman always comes at the wrong time.
I know. Well, there was one other thing that you told me, and I'm missing it, I'm forgetting it now. It's funny. On the Zoom stuff.
Oh, turn your camera on.
Turn your camera on. This is true.
I mean, unless it's 1,000 people and it's just a lecture you're listening to, turn your camera on. It's like if you showed up to a meeting and put a hood over your face. You would never do that. You're there having a meeting.
Yeah, it is so frustrating to us when that happens. It feels so impersonal and like they don't care. So, don't do that. Frequency of meeting with your mentors. I would keep on a steady pace with them. You want to be respectful that they're running their own business, so it's not like you're going to touch them every day. But if you don't keep up with it, they're certainly not going to either. So I would calendar bi-weekly, like twice a week. Twice a month, once a month. Set a schedule, stick to it. Another thing I think with this all, and I think in all meetings and everything, just good for business, is once you start moving meetings, like you have a set schedule, and then someone, unless you can't help it, but we really try to not move around meetings because it's a weird phenomenon, and I noticed this, like even in my law career. Once you started moving something, people found like it wasn't that important, so then they were more willing to move it too, and then it's just like never ending, doesn't happen. Try to stick to a schedule. Meeting readiness, for us that would mean come to the meeting, bring samples, or if there's a meeting that's a Zoom meeting, send samples ahead of time, come with an agenda, be prepared. I came to a meeting the other day without a notebook and a pen to take notes, and I felt stranded and really sad for myself that I wasn't prepared as I should have been. So I think that's a good thing. Make sure you'll feel better, the meeting will go better, you will be calmer if you are prepared. The ask, do you formally ask or not? We kind of debated this. I think, for instance, in my legal career, I did not ask. It just organically happened. That could happen with a professor for y'all, or if you're doing an internship at a business, that could just like naturally come. But for instance, like this, what we're doing with the founder, with the KS Welly Institute, like that is more structured, and we have been asked to be mentors to these business owners. So I think you just have to kind of read the room on that if you need to ask or if it just happens organically. Finally, 2 last tips. You must seek them out. They are not going to seek you. Like I said, they are busy. I think the most important thing is to be persistent and to make sure that it's a good fit. And also know that there are mentors for a million different things. It's not one global mentor for everything. There'll be one for marketing, one for expanding, one for packaging. You can use them for all the different things. It's very rare to be one for everything, in our industry at least. And then always follow up with a thank you. So everyone appreciates after they've done a meeting with you or done you a favor, connected you with someone, just always say thank you and that you appreciate their time and that you value that they've taken the time to be a mentor to you. So, for sure.
Okay, I think that's it. I just liked this quote. So the common threads of, oh gosh, there's no space there, of interest, investment, involvement, inculcation, inspiration are the pillars of mentorship, but the bottom line is caring. So you really want to find a mentor that cares about you, cares about your company, cares about your vision, what you're trying to do, professors that care, people that care. I really think it's important. And then we haven't really talked much about this, but we love now, 10 years in, we sometimes look at each other and we think we actually know a few things because people come to us and ask us questions. and we get to be mentors, and it's so fun to talk to people, and then we get to care about their business. So it's not a burden. One thing we talked about is, we are busy, so we are going to put out the hottest fires first. Business comes first, and so maybe we don't always have exactly the right time, or it's not fast that we can help people. But when we get to talk to other companies or other people, we love it. It feeds our soul. So just find people who really care and aren't just trying to check a box like, oh yeah, I mentored someone and whatever, I did that. So I think that's an important part of it. So anyway, we'll open it for questions.
Yeah, that's kind of our journey of mentors.
Oh, we do have cookies over there. They do have peanut butter in them. I just feel like we didn't have a sign, and I know that's the thing. So if you have an allergy, please know that.
Yes, but mentors have meant everything. We would not have gotten where we've gotten today without them. So if we can answer any questions about how you find a mentor, what that looks like, or anything else. And then after that, I know they have kind of a workshop that they were going to go through and talk. So have any questions?
What was your, what was your first experience with your mentor like?
Your first what?
First meetings with your mentor, what was that?
It kind of depends on which mentor it is, but like the first mentor we ever had, it was like, I want to start a cookie company. I have no idea what to do. Can you just start from the beginning? But then we've had other mentors that, a lot of it, you need to start with explaining who you are, what you're trying to do, and then learn more about them, and then y'all can see how it's going to be helpful to be in a relationship together.
Great, thank you.
What was something in the food industry that was surprising to you that was a very big factor in selling it? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing we've learned is, or one of the biggest things is, it's kind of not that hard to get a food item on the shelf. Like, we're really good at selling to there's one buyer buying cookies, and we sell to him because the cookies taste awesome. They just do. But then it's getting a consumer to find them, know who we are, what we stand for, because you just have if you think about walking through a store, you're quickly glancing and you go to your same brands. So I think the challenge is like making sure consumers know what it is.
Right, because at the bottom, at the end, and what is over there for y'all to eat, is it's an oatmeal peanut butter cookie with chocolate chips and M&Ms. It's not rocket science. It's excellent. And we just branded it because of the gluten-free industry was on the rise, and it is naturally gluten-free. But the buyers quickly see that. So, that's been interesting to figure out. So our trick is to get it off the shelves now and for people to know about it and buy it.
I'm curious what inspired you to start your jewelry business?
It's funny. I clearly don't, or when I'm a boss. No, I actually was a child that loved rocks and gemstones and that kind of stuff. And when I was at UT, I always liked jewelry, like fine jewelry. And then I went and worked for a jewelry company here in Austin for 2 years and thought, well, that's cool, I like it. So.
She had a huge rock collection, like Gio's growing up. Like I remember, she'd come home from a trip and her trip gift would be all these rocks and stuff. So it's hilarious, it's true.
Did you manufacture your jewelry? Like, what were your first steps?
So I went to GIA, which is like, I really more studied gemstones and like could identify them and grade them.
She was like wedding rings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so that's that. And I kind of designed some things here and there, but I would not call myself a designer. Okay.
That's cool. Thank you.
How did you guys navigate the transition from like friendship to coworker? Was that tricky, setting boundaries from like the introvert business to humans too?
It has been, we rarely have issues, really, truly. I think that we both know what we're both good at and we let each other be good at those things and we leave each other alone. We have different skill sets, which is really helpful. And we know which other strengths is. And I also think the inherent trust that we have because we've been best friends for so long, that we've always said, our love and friendship for each other goes above Meli's, and if that was ever at jeopardy, we would let Meli's go. So, but luckily, we do a great, it's sweet, it's so fun. I get to go, we used to travel all the time, and we still do, and it's super fun to do that. So you have.
Yes. So I recently started your brand when gluten-free was still kind of relatively new. And I understand like now in the market there's way more gluten-free options. How do you guys plan on staying like on top of competition? Like where do you see your brand in 10 years? Like change has to be made essentially. So what do you guys kind of think about that?
We probably eventually might expand into different categories. It's hard because I would say 99% of gluten-free baked products have a gluten substitute, and we never want to have that. So there's only,
It's a brand killer of ours. So I think that we have done a great job of getting out there at being the first monster cookie recipe to market and be able to get nationwide distribution with that. I believe that that recipe needs to live out in the vast majority, of our strong, loyal customers are gluten-free or celiac. They know what the bad stuff tastes like. Luckily, maybe most of y'all don't if you're not gluten-free or celiac, but they have a passion for things that taste good because most of their baked goods do not. So I feel like I think Meli's will live and stand as it is. It just may be different iterations just as we already have. The cookie cracker, and then I think that that's really where it would be made, but I think that the foundation of Meli's will stay the same. Okay, yeah.
Earlier you said that good traits for mentors are having a positive attitude. I'm really curious whether it's in your business or your personal life, what was the most encouraging or most impactful thing for y'all?
That a mentor has said to us.
I know, but
I mean, we have one mentor from SKU that is like always willing to go to bat for us, and I think about Bertrand and he'll always like show up on calls with us, and he's always like, I've got your back, and y'all are doing great. And I think it's just the everyday encouragement is the most important. And then we had another call, I was just thinking about, where we are in the middle of a capital raise, and that's really difficult to raise capital, especially in this environment, this financial environment. And he was just like, I want y'all to know that I believe in y'all. Y'all are not alone in this. So many companies are going, this is just a hard financial market right now to raise money in. And so that was encouraging to say, like, you were not alone. And
yeah, I would say it's less about the product and more about encouraging us as business people and saying, you're doing a great job, y'all can do this, that kind of thing. But that's over multiple conversations probably.
Good. Okay, let's give a round of applause.